A little bit of history about Mollydooker. We actually just celebrated our 20th anniversary, so that's pretty good. But it really started in 2005, and that was our first vintage. And I co-founded it with Holly's dad, Sparky. And we are both left-handed, and at the time, over half of our staff were left-handed. So it was only fitting that we chose Mollydooker because it's Aussie slang for a left-hander. I'm Holly Marquis, and I am the Chief Winemaker and CEO at Mollydooker.
I'm Holly. I am Sarah's daughter, Customer Experience Manager at Mollydooker, and also I run the brand Don't Tell Mum with my brother Luke.
I'd have to say the winemaking ethos at Mollydooker is never compromise on quality. To create the incredible texture and flavour of Mollydooker, we came up with 3 trademark points of difference. So we wanted to make sure that people could drink a lot of Mollydooker and not get hangovers or headaches. And so we use nitrogen to reduce the amount of sulfites. And then that nitrogen, you have to shake it, and it just improves the quality and pops the flavour. And the secret, I feel, that most people love Mollydooker because it really does taste a lot different, is our watering program, something that Sparky and I developed at university. And basically it just produces these wines with texture. The tannins are soft, incredible calm flavour over any other wines. And that has really contributed to everything, and we use it on all our vineyards and even for Don't Tell Mum.
So for Don't Tell Mum, our winemaking ethos is taking on a lot of the learnings from Mollydooker, so using the same watering program and trying to create a really great quality wine that's a little bit more pared back and easy drinking and approachable. We have also made our ethos at Don't Tell Mum wines about giving back to the environment, so it's trying to make wine in a slightly lower intervention way, using lightweight glass, less oak intervention, so that the wine can essentially get in front of the consumer quicker.
Of all the wines I make, I actually don't have a favourite, because I feel that when I'm making a wine, it's suiting an occasion. So for example, when I make the rosé, I want to make it so it appeals, a bit of nice flavour, and it's refreshing and crisp and all that. But then when I make something like Carnival of Love, I'm kind of picturing this intense love feeling, and most people use it for anniversaries and that. So I enjoy, but I do get a special little excitement when the Velvet Glove. So what happens is we have a vineyard that only makes Velvet Glove each year, and there's some years we haven't made it because the quality wasn't there. However, I get excited when, with our viticultural practices, that we can make not just one parcel, 3 of those parcels go in, and then I know our vineyard team have done a great job as well. So
I think my favourite of the Don't Tell Mum wines to make would have to be the sparkling. In that we're still quite young, but the sparkling was a bit of a happy accident for us. We were just gearing up to make the red for our first vintage, and I essentially had a great weekend with a bunch of friends, and we drank heaps of sparkling Shiraz, other sparkling Shiraz, and I came back and I said to the team, I think we need to keep some aside and make a sparkling red, and that is how this one happened. So yeah, it turned out really well. So I think that one's my favourite.
I think working every day with Holly and Luke, who's in America selling the wine, it's just great because I get to hang out with her, spend a lot of time. And Holly and Luke both growing up in the business means they really understand the way I think, what I want. And so I find that Holly, can take over, like make decisions. And I know I've heard you say, look, I know what Mum will do in this circumstance, and so she makes the decisions. So it's just great working with your kids.
Yeah, our relationship has definitely developed a lot over time, but my brother and I both grew up with some pretty strong role models, and we were taught from day dot that if we, wanted to be leaders, we could, whether that was in the industry or in any other industry. So we always had that belief set within us, and that still carries through to this day. So now it's, I can bring new projects forward to Mum, like Don't Tell Mum, which obviously she does know about. We brought it to her first, and we can show that it was thought out and that we've used all the things that she's taught us over the last decade or so. Being able to kind of have that mutual respect now after being brought up in this environment is definitely very special.
I think it's great being a leader in the wine industry. When I started winemaking, so that was back in 1987, I graduated, obviously 3 years later. I was only one of another girl out of 11 that graduated. So it was a very male-dominated industry, but I've enjoyed seeing over the years more and more women coming into the industry, more women taking high roles, whether it's CEO or winemaking roles. So that's all I've seen, is just a massive growth. And I do think that women have really good palates.
I always say to Mum, it's an incredibly unique industry because you're a farmer, a manufacturer, you're a marketing team, you're a hospitality venue as well. There's so many different facets. Even if you don't like wine at the start, you will after a couple of years or maybe even a couple of days. And yeah, I think that you can learn a lot and develop a lot of different skills in this industry in particular.
My favourite grape variety is all grape varieties, and the reason being is I get great interest in looking at wines from across the world and different varieties and different ways winemakers make it, because I find that some people just get it right and a lot of people don't, but I just love sourcing that out. So I don't really have a favourite, I don't think. Well, an interesting wine pairing that I like to suggest is, with your bacon and eggs in the morning, have our Miss Molly Sparkling Shiraz. And it really is good, because instead of a light sparkling white, the Shiraz is bubbly, it's got heaps of flavour and just goes really well. McLaren Vale as a wine region, I think, is unique because of the beautiful coastline and beaches. And that's the beautiful part. But as for a winemaker, that proximity to the sea with the heat sink reduces temperatures for ripening. It also has lovely sea breezes that reduce the chances of frost. It also, that cooling effect increases the ripening time to get more colour and flavour. And there's not many regions around the world, only a handful that are quite like this. So this is why I've been here for 30 years.
One of the things that makes McLaren Vale so special is definitely the community, but also the fact that there is so many small, particularly family-owned producers that are doing their own thing and putting their own stamp on the wine industry here. And I think that is very widely celebrated as a region. And, I know when we have people come into the cellar door, that's all they can say is like, wow, everyone is so welcoming, so lovely, everyone's doing their own thing, but celebrating their neighbour at the same time. And that is definitely something that we don't take for granted living and working here. My favourite wine pairing would have to be our Sparkling Shiraz with some coconut ice cream, either on the top like a spider or with a glass and a spoon.